guys. I tried to record this earlier today, but I didn't have enough time. I hope you're all doing well. It is Thursday, April 17th. Almost 5 years to the day when I could have gone to my brother's house and said, hey, you guys, why don't you come to my place for the weekend? Right? Almost 5 years to the day. That like nothing is the same. So many things are different. This isn't actually the video I wanted to make, but now that I'm talking about it, it's interesting. I just learned this the other day. There's a channel on YouTube, and I can't remember the guy's name, and I think his video was called Canada is for Criminals or something like that. And he talked about how criminal our government is, and they are. It's criminals run by criminals, enforced by criminals. They're criminals. Not every single person within the RCMP, police department, government, judge, lawyer is a criminal. But there's enough of them in there that the system itself can be called corrupt and criminal. That's how it is. There's never an all, like as in every single person, every single buddy. There's not an all. But all as in like the government's corrupt, which is everything they touch, right? You can't just say I have corrupt politicians in the corrupt government and not think, okay, well, that means everything the government touches is corrupt. The school system, the jail system, the medical system, the taxation system, everything. If it has a system and it's run by the government, it's corrupt. And at this point, it seems like everybody knows this. But I've been out and about today, which I don't do very often, not a lot, especially lately. And I'm talking to people who I have respect for in life in general. Educated people on the same wavelength with the alphabet community in schools and the black teens and freezing of bank accounts and all this other shit. They're on the same exact page, but they're voting liberal, which is weird because the liberals were in when the Nova Scotia mass murders happened. Sorry, I got this cool thing today. Squirrel. I love it. I know it's so weird and it's so weird, and that's all I know how to say. It's fucking weird, but I love it. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a skull. It's got a skull on it. And Emily loved skulls. Her things were skulls. So I saw it, and it made me think of her, so I bought it, and I really like it, so there you go. But the Liberals were in charge when the Nova Scotia mass casualty happened. And that whole thing was a corruption in cover-up of crime over crime over crime. And if you don't like what I'm saying, take me to court. Bring it out. Let's fucking prove this shit, because there's no way, and I know more things than the average person would know because I had access to documents that the average folks didn't have. And even the other family members, their lawyers had access, and sure they had access, but I had you fucking guys. And I had Seamus. That dude is like 10 ordinary men as far as doing research and absorbing information and having access to the different computer shit to like search for words and the weaponized autism to just sit there for untold hours and just read and process fucking data. And I know Seamus didn't do it alone. You guys were massive. You people out there who've been following me, holy fuck, you guys. Like, you will never know how completely and totally I would have never been able to do this if it wasn't for you guys. All of you guys. Seamus, you guys, everybody. So, there's no way that the average family member even read the documents that we read unless they were on Seamus's channel following along. And I'm still perplexed as to why we didn't have more family members. Wouldn't you think that when your family was murdered in that such a way, and there was some stranger who refused to take donations out in Alberta with only one connection to this whole thing, who's going through the documents that you don't have time to go through, you would be all over that channel, right? You'd be there. But they weren't. Some of you guys were. Yeah, it was awesome. Anyway, that's where we are. 5 years. 5 years ago, actually on April 18th, 2020, at about 5 o'clock in the evening, I was out buying a fishing license. I found that license, and that's how I know what I was doing when my family was living their last few hours. Right? When you go through something like that, man, how many times I've gone back in my mind to that day that I was at the Home Hardware buying that fishing license. And I remember walking in the store, I remember pushing the cart. And I just want to go back to that time and call Aaron and be like, yo, come and stay the weekend. All of you guys. Anyway, we can't dwell on it, and that's a true thing. That whole ordeal took up 2.5 years of my life being a part of, fighting my way through. And I really do feel like I was the only family member who had an actual army behind me. The rest of them had lawyers. And the lawyers, whether they want to or not, are part of the bar. And that means they have to play within certain rules. And I didn't have to do that because I'm not a lawyer. I don't have to play by your rules. And those guys had people who were being paid to either A, gatekeep, mostly gatekeep, the biggest family representative, as far as I can tell, they were gatekeeping, in my opinion. But I would say that Josh Bryson wasn't gatekeeping. I would say that Josh Bryson and Tara Miller did some pretty good things in there. Josh Bryson asked some pretty big questions, and I was really happy. Like, for me, when I had Tara Miller as my lawyer, she kind of had to, because I had big questions. But, you know, whoever Josh Bryson was looking after, whether it was those guys pushing it or Josh just doing it, Josh had some good questions. And he's a nice person. He's like a good person. I've run into him out in public where he saw me first and came to say hi. He is a good person. If I needed a lawyer, he'd be the guy I would go to every time. He is a good person. Or he plays a good one on TV. I mean, from what I can tell, I've never gone and had coffee with the dude, so I don't know. But anyway, again, ADHD. And since then, since that 2.5, 3 year mark, I've been working my ass off to get over my trauma. Portapic was by far the hardest trauma for me. And I say Portapic not to exclude everyone else, but because Portapic was where my family died. But let's not forget about all the other places that were not in Portapic where people died and were terrorized. Since then, after that 2.5 years of focusing on one thing and being traumatized and being sad, and all I did was cry. For 2.5 years, if you even looked at me, I cried. I mean, yeah, a told me about 6 months ago when we were volunteering to do some community work. She's like, it's been a really long time. She said she noticed that it's no longer that I all the time cry. She said, I can tell that you're changing. But I put a lot of work into my changing. A lot. And I'm not going to go into the healing shit because I know I've told you guys how I feel about attachment style and so on and so forth. The purpose of my video today is actually because in the last 6 months, I've been dealing with some pretty big health issues. And all you can do in life is do what you can and then try to laugh about whatever you can. And I laugh a lot at myself and at everybody else because people are funny and you should just laugh at yourself. You should also laugh at everyone around you. But you have to be able to take a joke, otherwise you don't have the right to laugh at anyone else if you can't take it back. So I have been exploring alternative healing measures because what I would have considered your basic go to the hospital, go to the doctor and find out what's wrong with you 6-7 years ago, I don't see it that way at all anymore. And with these health issues, my actual GP, my nurse practitioner, along with several GPs from emergency, nobody can really figure out what's going on with me. I have some upcoming tests that I'm not looking forward to, but they've taken so much blood from me, I'm surprised I have any left, right? They sort of samples and tests and all this other shit, x-rays and blah, blah, all the things. And they can't figure out what's wrong with me. According to them, I'm fine, and I'm definitely not. So, I don't know how long ago, a few months ago, all the time is hard to keep track of, but it's been a long time since I've been feeling like absolute shit all the time and in pain. So I started looking at interesting things. So I took some mushrooms one night when I was home alone by myself for the weekend to try to see if I could look inside, because that's what happens to me. I don't know what mushrooms does to everybody else, but to me, it makes me really introspective. So if I've been making a lot of bad decisions in that time frame, I want to stay away from mushrooms because those things will come to the forefront and I will have to deal with them. And if I'm not ready to deal with the shit that comes up, mushrooms are not for me. That's how it is for me. If I'm not in the right headspace, just stay away. So I put it off as long as I needed to in order to be into the right headspace. And then I had a weekend to myself, and I was trying to thinking, okay, if I could just look at myself and figure out from the inside why I'm having these problems. And it was the first clue, actually, which was funny, because it didn't matter how much I relaxed, I could feel my molecules that they couldn't relax. Like at the molecular level, I have had so much trauma, the most of which, of course, was 2020. But before that, trauma, before I was even born, I had trauma. So it's a thing in my life. And so I was like, okay, so that's what I came out of that mushroom trip with, was the information that no matter what I do, because I stretched, I put on stretching music, I did all the hippie shit. If you looked at me through my big window driving by, you would have been like, what the fuck is that hippie lady doing in there? I was in there stretching and flowing and music going. I was trying to relax my body and just be able to breathe and to gather information about what was going on. It was pretty funny when you stop and think about it. And then I couldn't figure out, then I figured out that my molecules wouldn't relax. Well, how do you fix that? Right? You can relax your heartbeat, kind of, sometimes, by breathing properly. Or you can relax your anxiety by breathing properly. Or you can relax certain things or fix certain issues with ghost pipe or something like that. But when you are anxiety at the very foundational, creational items like your molecules, that's not being fixed by some deep breath work. It just isn't. So I started trying to learn about my molecules. And of course, you start on a path, and as you learn, you go, and things come up, right? That's how it goes. And that's how God wants me to learn, is by learning. I have to find a different path to what I was doing before, because it's obviously not working for me, and I need to heal, and I want to heal. So this is just, in my opinion, presenting me with the obstacle I need to get me on the path to learn what I need to learn. That's how I'm trying to look at it. God wouldn't have put me on this path to kill me. He would put me on this path so that I could learn what I needed to learn to get to the next step, to the better version of me that's on the other side of this problem. So I started learning about chakras. Like, seriously, if you had told me a year ago that I'd be learning about chakras, I would have told you you were nuts. I didn't know what a chakra was, I didn't know what it was for, I didn't know it was really, like, I've heard the word before, but I didn't know. So sure enough, I started learning about chakras and stones and essential oils and all this other fucking hippie shit. So then I ended up at a holistic market where a girl who I'd never met came over to me and told me I was going to be the last person in her chair that day. She was somebody who works with frequencies, and she had a bunch of singing bowls, and I was like, what is this weird shit? I was open-minded. I shouldn't say that. I'm not closed-minded like that. I'm really not. I'm open. I mean, I might think to myself, what is this? This can't be real. But I go and do it anyway, right? I am open-minded in spite of what people like to say. I don't know where they get the fact that I'm closed-minded, but I'm not. If I think there's a chance I can learn from something, I absolutely would go and do that. So anyway, I sat down on her chair, and it was a 10-minute session that went by like a flash. And she put some bowls on me and some bowls underneath my chair. And within 5 seconds, I was fucking crying my face off because, you know, I'm a crier. I really am. Oh my God, it's really, I guess it has to come out. So I have to stop, give myself some grace, I guess. I have to learn that word, I think. So anyway, I cried in this singing bowl chair. And then I went home from the market the next day with my very own singing bowl. It took me all day to find the one that I wanted because they have to resonate with you, right? There's some of them, I pick them up and they won't make any sound for me at all. And other ones, I pick them up and I don't like the sound. And other ones, I pick them up and I'm like, oh, that's the one. And it just, you sink right into it. Anyway, they're not cheap, but I've been using it every day, and I definitely think it's making a difference. So then, anyway, I was looking for a thumb ring for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm into jewelry right now for whatever reason, and I needed a thumb ring. So at the same market, I found one, and I traded it for some gluten-free cakes, which I love markets, because if you are a vendor, other vendors love to trade you for shit. It's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And so then, of course, I have my Victoria Emerson bracelets, which I love so much, and they're on sale right now on their website for like $8. They don't have much left. I don't know what's going on over there, but I know that they have some stock, and those bracelets are about $8 to $12. I don't really look at anything else. I really like their wrap bracelets. So if you're somebody who likes them, or your spouse wants one, now's the time. That's VictoriaEmerson.com. They're not paying me. I just want to let you guys know because I really like their wrap bracelets. So anyway, I got my ring and I'm driving my car today, and I was just thinking to myself how I really like this turquoise color. And in learning about stones, you learn about colors and certain stones. Everything is energy, which I know tactically, but to actually, I don't know what the word is, tangibly, to understand it, I almost need to see it on paper. Like, I'm indoctrinated enough that I need to see what it looks like on paper. So I was like, I really like this color. And when I look in the mirror, I really like it, but I can't see it pointer finger so that I can look at that color all the time. And then I started laughing at myself because I finally understood how those old fucking hippie ladies with all the different colored rings and the flowy dresses and all the different scarves and necklaces and shit, now I understand how they get that way. I don't know that that's the case, but I'm like, oh my god, I'm an old fucking hippie. That's what's happening to me. So like, it's so funny because all the hippie dippy shit is really, really expensive. Like, none of this shit is cheap at all. I mean, I'm frugal and I find stuff on sale or half price or at the thrift shop. Like, that's where I got this, was Value Village. I don't know how that ended up there, but I don't care. And I get smoking deals, and at markets I get to trade people for my wares, and so that's good. But hippie shit is expensive. One of the singing bowls at that lady's kiosk at the market was like $500 for a bowl. So then you have to chuckle because you see these like hippie chicks with all these crystals and singing bowls in the back of their car, and they have like $2,000 worth of hippie shit in the back of a car that's worth $50. And then you're like, oh my god, I totally get why these chicks are the flowy skirts and stone rings and different, yeah, I get it now. Anyway, I thought it was funny. And I like to share my journey because I am on a journey right now. I have pain, I have rashes, I have things that nobody can explain, and according to all the blood work and all the samples and all the everything, I'm fine. It's just amazing that our system is what it is. Anyway, today I went to my naturopath and I just love him. He's so helpful, but for me, like I said, if I can see it on paper, then it makes more sense to me. And I've heard about a vagus nerve. I've heard the term before, I've never thought about it. I have PTSD and CPTSD. And I'm not special, right? Oh yeah, my family was killed in a horrible thing, but I had trauma before that. And all of my traumatic responses came from before that. So you don't have to have a family that was murdered by the government and covered up and blah, blah, blah. You don't have to be a part of the shit that I went through to have really big trauma, right? Neglect from your parents is trauma. Being bullied at school is trauma. There's so many traumas. There's actual abuse. There is, violence. There's alcoholism. There's just, the list doesn't end of things that are traumatizing. Just being raised by a single parent is traumatizing because you go to school and your mom or your dad, whoever's raising you, is at work. Right? You go to school, like for me, I lived with my mom and she worked at Michelin, which is swing shifts. So for like 2 weeks, she'd be working when I was at school and I'd get to hang out with her after school and on weekends. And then for 2 weeks, she was working 4 to 12, so I didn't see her, and I came home from school out of babysitters, and I slept the night there, and I went to school from there in the morning, and then I didn't see her, like, maybe for half an hour at the end of the day. It was awful, awful. I'd never want to work for that kind of company where they have those sorts of shifts. So that was trauma. Like, everybody has shit. And so if you can, regardless of your shit, and even if you don't have trauma, but you just feel that you want to feel better, then do stuff to make yourself feel better. So as a result of my trauma and all this shit, I was looking at my sympathetic nervous system. I was working on that because that's your fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or that's it. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or some people faint. Some people get overwhelmed to the point where they faint. But for the most part, it's 4 responses. So if you've ever, whatever your response is, when you're out in public and somebody puts you in a funny spot or does something to make you feel uncomfortable, how do you react? Do you stand up for yourself? Do you quiet and you don't know what to say? Do you cry and run out of there? Do you, when they're mean to you, do you fawn over them? Which is a lot of abusive relationships. There's a lot of fawning going on. by the person who's being abused because they don't want the abuser to leave. So there's a lot of shit going on there. And what I have come to realize, and I am finally processing it, maybe that's it, I got it, but I didn't process it. It wasn't in there on an understanding kind of level, is that everything is energy. I'm energy, you're energy, my new little hand thing is energy, every fucking thing is energy. And so you need to find the things that create you good energy. And colors, and I can say that the color teal makes me feel like warm and fuzzy and summery and like the way linen curtains flow and the blah blah blah, but it might not do that for you. So I could tell you to go and get a singing bowl, but you can't just go and buy one. You have to play them and find out which one's for your frequency. And the only really difference between a singing bowl and the stones is that you can hear the bowl, so you can hear how their frequency is. But the stones, if you're quiet and you like calmly listen to it, you should be able to figure out what it is whether or not their frequency works for what you need. I really strongly suggest people doing things to make yourself feel better. I don't mean going and getting an ice cream. I don't mean buying a new car that's going to have you with payments for the next 8 to 10 years. I don't mean, you know what, and at the same time, sometimes shopping and just buying silly shit is awesome, right? I bought this. Do I need this? No, but I like it, and it reminds me of Emily, and it's cool, and my kid's going to lose her shit. She's going to want it so bad, I just know it, which is funny, because then I get to tease her. But it made me feel good. I had a rough fucking week. My dog got into a porcupine, which you know is more than just a pain in the dog face, it's also a pain in the wallet. And it's scary because I do live in the woods, and it's porcupine season where they're out mating and so on, and they're nocturnal. Anyway, there's a whole list. That's not my point. My point is, do things. So, because of my sympathetic nervous system being in fight or flight mode since I was a baby, literally tiny, before I was even born, my mom was in fight or flight mode. And so it goes back to genetics as well. Like, look into epigenetics. That's a real thing. You carry the trauma of your mom because she carried that trauma in her cells, in her molecules, like I do still. So I've learned today that your sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, there's the parasympathetic nervous system, which is relax and sleep. So those two are opposites, like yin and yang. And when my naturopath started telling me this stuff, it started to all click of like there's yin and yang, there's pull and push, there's ebb and flow. And your sympathetic nervous system is the hammer that hits the nail. The parasympathetic nervous system is the gentle place so it's hard for me to describe because I can see it as a picture in my head. But in my head, it's like masculine, feminine energy. And that's not got anything to do with genders. I don't want to hear the gender fucking nonsense. I don't care about that. It's got to do with tough and strongness compared to soft and relaxedness. That's not to say that maybe I'm using the wrong words. There's a chance I'm using the wrong words, but if you could just get my picture of in my head that I have of the ebb and the flow and the push and the pull, and everything comes and goes, and for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. All that shit you've been learning but never really took into account, it's all true. So I've been working on my sympathetic nervous system for as long as I can remember, like being a teenager, trying to figure it out, or reading Dr. Phil when I was like 15, and all these self-help books and all this stuff where I'm just trying to make sure that I can deal with my trauma. And then it turns out, I did a test today, and it showed that when I'm totally relaxed and completely calm, my sympathetic nervous system is two basis, I think is it basis, deviations from the norm into the high. So like even when I'm just laying there breathing and just relaxing, I am more stressed out than is normal by 2 deviation points. At the same time, my parasympathetic nervous system is 2 deviation points back from where it should be. So if you imagine, like I imagine pushing and pulling of like puzzle pieces or Tetris pieces. So I'm pushing, my sympathetic nervous system is pushing my parasympathetic nervous system down. And because your parasympathetic nervous system is the soft, sort of feminine energy as compared to the big masculine energy, it gets beat down because it doesn't approach things in that sort of an aggressive, my words are not right, but I'm hoping that you can give me enough grace to like understand what I'm trying to say. So anyhow, we all have to work on that if we have trauma and we want to heal. None of us has to do anything if we don't want to. But if you want to heal and you've been working on your sympathetic nervous system and trying to breathe and trying to stretch and trying to when you're triggered, when you're heightened emotional state, then what you may need to work on is your vagus nerve, your vagal nerve. And I've heard that term. I have heard it and I was like, oh, it's more hippie shit. That's what I thought. So no, it's not hippie shit. Your vagus nerve. Now, I'm not a doctor. You'll have to look at this for yourself. I'm going to say this in the way that I understand it. And I only learned about it today, so I could be wrong on some of the details, but this is an example. So your optic nerve controls your eyes. Your auditory nerve controls your ears. That's it. It doesn't control your mouth or your anything else. You know, you have different nerves controlling different things, but your vagus nerve controls your heart, your liver, your pancreas, your kidneys, your intestines, and your stomach. So your optic nerve does your eyes. That's it. Your vagus nerve does like 7 or 8 different things, and it's one nerve. So when you hear the expression, you're getting on my fucking nerves, that's what it means. In my opinion, that's what I thought when I heard it, getting on my nerves. But it's in the back of your head, in the like base of your head. I don't know how it connects to your spine, but all that shit in there does. I think it's like at the base of your head, top of your spine-ish area. And it's a real thing. I have to get a TENS machine and attach it to my ears to try to get the frequency, because there's something in your ears, couple spots that connect right to your vagus nerve directly, and it puts frequencies directly there. I said to my naturopath that I had gotten a singing bowl, and he's like, oh, that's awesome. And I'm like, is that the real thing? And he said, oh yeah, it definitely is. So just like some music really sings and speaks to you and you really love it, that's because of the frequency that they're playing. And actually, Terrence Howard, he's an actor, a black guy, he was just on something, I got a clip of him just on Facebook, of him standing on stage talking about frequencies. This dude, man, I gotta go watch his interview on Patrick Bet David, because he's talking about some pretty serious stuff, but he also was talking about colors and frequencies and tones. So according to my naturopath and to what I'm starting to learn now, these things are real. It is real, and we need to find out how to look after our vagus nerve. So all that half an hour jargon of me going back and forth, I think I stayed on topic pretty good actually for me, because we're still talking about the same thing that I wanted to talk about in the video. So that's good. So with that said, I'm going to leave it right there. Take care of yourself. Take care of your vagus nerve. take care of your family and your pets, and get off grid, grow your own food, harm yourselves, and make friends with like-minded people. God bless the 23.